Hey guys, Pike here. This is your cardio part 2 video. This video we are going to completely draw heart structure from scratch, and then we're going to do blood flow through the heart. So on the first video I went through and did all the heart structures and labeled them on these diagrams. So here's what we did in the first video looking at all of these structures. So we're just going to pull right over here and we're going to draw it from scratch. So first I like to do a decently large heart in a dark color. So I'm just going to do it in black. And so I'm going to do my heart. Okay, I'm not a huge fan of that one, so I'm going to try it again. Okay, that's too close. Okay, sorry. I'm not trying to be perfect, so I can't draw perfectly, but I want a decently symmetrical heart, even though that's not great. Okay, so we are going to divide it up into our 4 chambers. Okay, I want a little bit fatter pen. And so here are the 4 different chambers in the heart. So when we go and label them, we have the right atrium and the left atrium. These are the receiving chambers. The right ventricle and the left ventricle. All right, those are our 4 chambers. And then also looking at this wall right here, that wall is our septum, either the interventricular septum or the interatrial septum. Whether it's between the atria or ventricles, it's just the wall in between the 2 sides of the heart. And so basically it's like 2 townhouses, like an upstairs and a downstairs, connected with a wall in between. That wall is solid. Blood does not go from the right side to the left side of the heart. All right, so then let's do our valves. We're going to do everything inside the heart, and then we're going to add on our associated vessels. So I just want to take a little bit out right here, and I'm going to bring it back only part. Okay? And so I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to just bring it, oh, good Lord. No thanks. Okay. I'm just going to, okay, it doesn't want to move right. My touch screen's going out. Okay, so that way I can draw my valves right here. So I am going to put those in a different color, just so they stand out as different. These are collectively called the atrioventricular valves because they're in between the atria and ventricles. Like going from upstairs to downstairs, there's just a door. And there it's really a flap, okay? And so we really have like little flaps. Make that one bigger too. Okay? So they're like little flaps, door flaps. And so this one is called, since it's on the right side of the heart, this one is the tricuspid valve. And this one on the left side of the heart is the bicuspid valve. And this one is also called mitral, but I'm just going to write bicuspid and tricuspid. Collectively, they are the AV valves or the atrioventricular valves. So I'm just going to put the little flaps right here too. Okay? They're like little French doors. All right, so that's those 2 valves. So now I'm going to do the valves leaving the heart, but that's where we have to start adding on our associated vessels. So that is, I'm going to grab a different color. Let's look. I don't want galaxy. Let's go something else. Okay. I don't really guess it matters. So I don't really need blue, but I'll just grab dark blue. Okay. So now on our associated vessels, maybe I'll grab like a pink. Is there a pink? There we go. On our associated vessels, I'm first going to do the pulmonary trunk, the artery that leads away from the right ventricle. The right atrium receives blood. The right ventricle is what discharges blood. So a valve is located in the right ventricle for blood to leave the heart. And there needs to be a valve so that it can open up and only let blood flow in one direction. Okay. And so here I'm going to show you, it's kind of like a little baby's butt. Okay, so you first do a little, or like how you used to draw when you were little, you drew birds, and that's a bird. It is semi-lunar, so it looks like two little half moons. So then this vessel is going to arch up and over the heart, okay? And so I'm going to just pull it out. So now I know that my word's tricuspid valve, so I'm actually going to try to move those without, okay, that's maybe not. Maybe I won't do that. Okay. So actually, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to show you some 3D structures here. And so I'm going to pull this up and kind of arch it over. Up and kind of arch it over. Okay? That's where I want that to stop. And I want you to write inside of that, that is the pulmonary trunk. So I know since we're drawing a 3-dimensional structure in a 2-dimensional fashion that it's going to be difficult, okay? But so just bear with me here. And so then we will be looking at that structure going behind another structure, so we're not going to draw the rest of that just yet. I'm going to do the other, well, we need to label our valve first, okay? So this valve right here is the pulmonary, I'm just going to write it kind of small, semilunar valve. It is named based on the vessel that blood is about to enter into. Okay, so it's two little half moons entering the pulmonary trunk, so it is the pulmonary semilunar valve. So then you come over here and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do a semilunar valve where blood leaves the left ventricle. Blood leaves either side, either ventricle, and it's going to a different location. So we'll do that in just a minute. And so we look at another little half moon, joop, joop. Okay, and that one is our aortic semilunar valve. Because blood is about to enter into the aorta. Okay, and so what the aorta looks like is we're going to arch it up and over also. Okay. So I'm just kind of giving a second for you to fill in. I know sometimes you have to pause and stuff. All right. So the aorta comes up and it goes behind. So I know this is kind of weird, kind of difficult. But then it's going to arch over like this. Arches over like this. Okay? So when it's actually a tiny bit fatter than that, so I might want to try that line again. Okay. So this is the aorta, and then it has 3 branches that come off of it. Okay, so this is the aorta. All right, I ended up going kind of red on that. I don't know why I did that. Oh, well, that's okay. I'll come back over here to pink. They kind of look the same to me. So, all right, so now what I want to do is I want to branch off my pulmonary trunk. A trunk means we're about to branch. And so this branch, going over here to the left side, branches in front of the aorta. Okay, and so I need to come over here and I need to make lungs. And I'm not going to do this to scale, okay? So this is obviously not to scale. But this is the left lung. Just to have, be able to have a connection with our pulmonary. So here is our left pulmonary artery. There's only one going to the left lung where we are going to need to pick up oxygen. Okay. But then over here, we are going to branch and see this. Hold on just a second. Okay. So over here, I'm just going to erase a little bit of it. There we go. Okay. over here, we are going to branch and go behind the aorta. So do your little dotted lines so we know that that is going behind. Remember, it's hard to draw 3D, but we are doing our best, all right? And so then I want you to draw another lung over here, and this is our right lung, be country. All right, so then this is our right. I always just do right. What you can write out the word right if you need to. Right pulmonary artery, taking blood to the right lung. I'm writing trunk as I'm saying artery. I'm writing things and saying different things on top of it, so it's kind of difficult sometimes. Okay, so now that takes blood to the lungs. Now for veins, we're going to bring blood back to the heart. So now we are going, I'll start with the pulmonary since we're already over here talking about the lungs. So for pulmonary, we have two. Okay, and I'm just going to make a little. So there are two on each side. So there's one pulmonary vein bringing blood back to the heart, two pulmonary veins. So these are my right pulmonary veins, bringing blood back to the heart from the lungs. Pulmon means lungs. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. These are my left pulmonary veins. Okay? So there's two coming back, only one going to. Then, and of course, we're going to talk about that in just a minute, but hopefully it's somewhat obvious that blood is going to the lungs to pick up oxygen. That's the oxygen warehouse. That's where, oxygen comes in the body and gets stored so that it can be put into the bloodstream. Okay, so that's one set of veins. We also have veins that bring blood back from the body into the heart. And so we're talking about right here. Here's one right here on the above the heart. And this one is the superior vena cava, major vein bringing blood back from the upper part of the body, superior vena cava. Then below the heart, we have the inferior vena cava, bringing blood back to the heart from the lower part of the body. Okay? And so that is all of our structures that we are putting on our heart before we talk about blood flow. Okay, so hopefully yours is colorful and beautiful. It doesn't have to be very artistic. It just has to be anatomically correct. Everything's in its correct location, and it's labeled with its correct name. Okay? So now we're going to go down to our circulation right here. There's actually two types of circulation going on in our body at all times. We have a pulmonary, I made that really fat, didn't I? Nothing wrong with that, right? Just when I do diagrams, I hate when it's real skinny. First, we have our pulmonary circulation that we just looked at in the pulmonary arteries and veins. This is where blood flows from the right side of your heart to our lungs, and it comes back into the left side of our heart. The purpose is to oxygenate the blood and drop off carbon dioxide. Okay, so this purpose is to go to the lungs to pick up oxygen. Second type of circulation is called systemic. Systemic circulation is the opposite. Blood flows from the left side of the heart to the body and back to the right side of the heart. Purpose here is to deliver that oxygen, not to pick up the oxygen, but then to deliver it, and then take away any waste. Okay? So here's a picture of both of those types of circulation. I know it's not what it looks like in the body exactly, but this splits it up. Okay? And so we have our heart in the middle, we have our lungs at the top. So basically, our lungs are like a warehouse. Okay? And a warehouse where we store oxygen. Warehouse of oxygen. Oxygen comes into the body, into our air sacs called alveoli, where they will diffuse, high to low concentration, onto our red blood cells and attach to the protein molecule hemoglobin that's made of iron. All right? And so then we will look at the heart is like FedEx. It's like a FedEx hub. Nothing is being stored here. Nothing is being made here. This is not a factory, not a warehouse. Things just come here to get shipped out. That's it. Okay? And then like here would be everybody's house. Like where are we delivering the package to? And so when we look at the right side of the heart deals with pulmonary circulation. Right side is pulmonary. Blood is going from the heart on the right side to the lungs to pick up oxygen to come back. So that's right up there is pulmonary. Right over here is systemic. Blood is going to our body systems and back. The left side, this now it's considered red. Red here is oxygenated. And blue is deoxygenated. That does not mean our blood is ever blue. Our blood is always red. Our veins appear blue, but the blood inside of them is always red. When blood has a high oxygen content, it is scarlet red. It is bright red. When it has a low oxygen content, it is dull red. If you've ever seen on TV where there's a blood pool on the floor or blood, after it's out of the body for a while, okay, all of those gases oxidize, it turns like a dark, dull red because of the losing that oxygen content. Okay, and so let's look at blood flow. All right, we're going to do what's number 1 and number 2 right here, but I do want to mention that you also have a special kind of circulation called coronary circulation, and that is a special circulation just for the heart. Since the heart carries blood, it doesn't mean it gets any oxygen from that blood. That blood has to leave the heart, come back around the outside of the heart, and supply it. Okay? So that the heart has its own circulation. It's called coronary. So when we talk about blood flow, we're going to come back and look at this picture in a minute. Hopefully I'll remember. But I love this picture because, for one, it makes the heart look like a marshmallow or a white chocolate covered piece of candy or something. That looks fabulous. But 2, I love that it's cut in a transverse or horizontal plane so that I can see how thick the wall, the myocardial wall, is here in the left ventricle versus the right ventricle. See how the wall is not very thick in the right ventricle? It is because the left ventricle is pumping blood out to the body, all of our body cells, and the right side is only pumping blood right next door to the lungs. Doesn't have far to travel, doesn't need much musculature, so the layer is more thin. Okay, so now let's come down here. I'm going to make this not so fat. And we're going to talk about blood flow. And I'm going to start with blood flow is a circulation, y'all, right? We know that it's just a solid circulation. And so I am going to start with the superior and inferior vena cava. So I'm just arbitrarily picking somewhere to start. But blood flow is a circulation. There's no begin and no end, right? But I always like to start there. I like to start bringing blood back to the heart. So we are going to start with the superior and inferior. I don't know why I'm kind of doing cursive, kind of going fast. Vena cava. Okay? And now I'm going to talk about blood flow, so I'm going to draw my labels here. Okay? So I'm going to change this over to blue. And I'm going to make my key over here. So blue, let's make a little key. That is deoxygenated blood. And then red is oxygenated. Okay? And so I'm going to go back and forth, toggle back and forth between my 2 arrows. So here, I've got blood. I'm going to do my arrows. So I'm talking about deoxygenated blood. This blood has already dropped off oxygen to all body cells and it's coming back to FedEx to go and pick up more oxygen at the warehouse. All right. And so where this blood enters the heart is at the right atrium. The right atrium. And then that blood still has no oxygen, still is low in oxygen. So the atria are the receiving chambers, okay? From there, blood is going to go through the tricuspid valve. I hate to toggle back and forth, but I'm going to start doing regular writing. Tricuspid valve. So it's going to go through a set of French doors, and then it's still deoxygenated. We haven't picked up any new oxygen. Then it's going to travel into the right ventricle. Okay. The ventricle is where blood is going to leave the heart, but we're still deoxygenated. And how we leave the heart, we have to go through a door. The door that this blood is going to go through is called the pulmonary semilunar valve. Set of French doors to leave the heart. Okay. This blood is still deoxygenated. We have not been to the warehouse to pick up new oxygen. Okay. This blood is going to enter the pulmonary trunk, major artery leaving the right ventricle. And again, the blood is still deoxygenated. From there, that blood is going to then either go to the right, travel over to the right lung or the left lung. So it's going to enter either the right or left pulmonary artery. Okay, blood kind of splits. Still deoxygenated. Haven't been to the warehouse yet, but we're on our way. Right? We're on a series of highways. And this highway is taking blood to the warehouse to pick up oxygen. Okay? Oh, goodness. My foot just hit my heater. Burned my little ankle. Okay. And so now we're entering the lungs. We're entering either the right or left lung. And this, guys, is where purple occurs. Does that look purple? Hopefully that does. Okay? This is where diffusion of gases occurs. So I'm going to actually even put like a little thing up here. And then to tell you, this is diffusion. Because blue and red together make purple. Get it? Diffusion of gases. We're either picking up oxygen, dropping off carbon dioxide. Okay? Or dropping off, either way. I need to say it the right way. We are picking up oxygen, dropping off carbon dioxide. In the other location that we have diffusion, it's going to be the opposite. And that's going to be our body cells. So here, we're picking up oxygen. It's binding to hemoglobin on our red blood cells, on our erythrocytes. And so now I can go to a red arrow because now this blood is oxygenated. It has oxygen molecules on the red blood cells. So the highway that we travel to get back to FedEx, to get back to the heart, because this is the warehouse. This is not where we ship things out. This is just where we store oxygen. So we go back to the heart via the right or left pulmonary veins. Right or left pulmonary veins. Okay. And again, we're still oxygenated. To re-enter the heart, to re-enter at, my screen is freezing, to re-enter the heart so that it can be enter FedEx into the hub, to get signed in again, to get shipped out to its correct location, we are going to enter on the left side of the heart. So we're coming into the left atrium. Still oxygenated. We're going to go through the bicuspid valve, down to the left ventricle. Same theme as on the right side of the heart. It goes atrium, AV valve, ventricle. So same thing here on the left side, right? And so now, ventricle is where blood is pumped out of the heart. So we're going to go through a door to leave the heart. That door that blood enters to leave the heart, that valve is the aortic semilunar valve. Because blood is about to enter the aorta. It's still oxygenated. So then blood enters the aorta, the largest artery in the body. Specifically, it enters the ascending aorta, part of the aortic arch. It goes up, but we'll get into that in our next little unit. All right, so from the aorta, there are many, many branches, off-ramps off of this major highway to go to everybody's house, to go to every single body cell. So here, that blood goes to body cells. And then I have to show purple again because we have diffusion going on, dropping off oxygen, picking up carbon dioxide. It's like if the Amazon delivery guy brought you your package and he took away your garbage. He was your delivery man and your garbage man. That is what a red blood cell does, okay? They have a very important job and they get worn out. They never get any breaks, okay? They work nonstop. That's why they only live for about 120 days before our body digests them and makes new ones via hematopoiesis in our red bone marrow. Okay? And so, but I don't want to end there because I want you to know that it is a circle, right? It is a cycle, continuous cycle. So now that blood is deoxygenated, we dropped off oxygen, and it's going to re-enter the heart, re-enter the FedEx hub at the superior and inferior vena cava. So if it's a continuous cycle, we need to begin and end at the same structure. Superior and inferior vena cava, okay? So if you go back, you've got a linear description. That looks kind of cool like that, doesn't it? Aw. That is a linear description of blood flow, okay? And so what we're going to look at next is we are going to do that in our drawing. Okay? And so let's do that over here. I'm going to start with, I'm going to enlarge so it doesn't make me crazy. We're not going to do it quite like we did the one above. We're going to abbreviate everything. So I'm going to draw my heart. Stay with me for just a little bit longer. And I'm going to just say RA, LA, RV, LV, because we've already labeled it twice already, okay? And so let us also do our valves. So this is my tricuspid valve, bicuspid valve, okay? And then let you catch up for just a second. I feel like I'm going a little fast. And then let's add on our vessels. So here we had a semilunar valve, and this is the pulmonary semilunar valve, PSV. I'm going to pull this up and over, and I'm going to branch it this way because I can already. This one, other side goes underneath. I'm going to do another little semilunar valve, and that's the aortic semilunar valve. Okay. And then I'm going to bring this up. And this comes over. And it goes behind right there. And it actually comes down, okay? And so that's our aorta. This is our pulmonary trunk. Okay, you don't really have to write everything out, but just maybe put some abbreviations so we know. And then we're going to pull over some, can I go down a little bit? Yeah. We're going to pull over along over here. And so this is the left lung. This is my left pulmonary artery. I'm going to put a circle around that. Okay. And then over here, I'm going to go behind the aorta. I'm going to come over here to the right lung. Okay. And over here is my right pulmonary artery. I have 2 pulmonary veins on either side. So these are my right pulmonary veins. Okay, and I'm going to take off just a little bit of this because you're a little bit in my way. Okay. And then we're going to pull back. That made a hole right there, which is absolutely perfect. That's where it goes in. So then these are my left pulmonary veins. Okay, we have everything listed except for my vena cava. So this is my SVC for superior vena cava. And then this is my IVC for inferior vena cava. So I'm going to keep my same key. You see my key over here, okay? I'm using my same key. That's muy importante, okay? Very important. So I'm going to start with, just like I did over here, with deoxygenated blood. Blood coming back to the heart from the body, from dropping off oxygen, picking up carbon dioxide. So I'm going to show this arrow coming into the superior vena cava, coming in. I'm going to show, if my screen will move, there we go. I'm going to show blood coming up through the inferior vena cava. But y'all, here's where we're drawing a 3-dimensional process on a 2-dimensional drawing. So both the inferior vena cava and the superior vena cava both drain into the right atrium. So you're going to have to think like behind, like both of these tubes go in and drain into the right atrium. And so that's why I do the linear one first, so that you can see the superior and inferior both go into the right atrium. Okay? So once into the right atrium, blood travels down. Blood always travels down in the chambers. So then it goes through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle. But I want you to do it exactly like me. I want you to bring that blood all the way down. It comes all the way down. It fills up. It builds up a lot of pressure before it is expelled, forced out, through the pulmonary semilunar valve into the pulmonary trunk, and then it either goes to the left pulmonary artery or the right pulmonary artery. So then we're going to just keep going like this. We're going to enter the lungs. Okay, and in the lungs, so we got, let's pull it in just a little bit more. In the lungs, that's where diffusion of gases occurs. So draw a big piece of purple. I know this kind of looks hot pinky, but I made a key. Okay, this is diffusion of gases. We're picking up oxygen. This is the oxygen warehouse, and we're dropping off carbon dioxide or waste. Okay, so now I get my red arrows. So now that blood is oxygenated, and it is going to leave the lungs and travel via the right and left pulmonary veins on its way back to the heart. So it is going to re-enter the heart at the left atrium. Okay, the right side is only deoxygenated blood. The left side is only oxygenated. There's 2 holes in each atria for the vessels to drain into. The left atrium has 4, 2 for the right and 2 for left. That blood is going to go through the bicuspid valve, and remember, it's going to travel down. We're going to do the same thing as the right side of the heart. We're going to travel in, build up enough pressure so that that blood can be forced out through the aortic semilunar valve, entering into the aorta, go up. The aorta itself actually has 3 branches that go up to the arms and to the head. And so some of that blood is going to enter those little off-ramps, just like on the highway. These are just off-ramps. Some of that blood is going to travel down, and I'm going to bring that aorta down. Okay, So this is also the aorta. And so that blood is going to travel. There's lots of off-ramps. I'm not going to draw those because that would be so crazy. And then all of those off-ramps are going to take that blood to our body cells, to all of our body cells. Yay! And that is where diffusion of gases occurs again, dropping off oxygen and picking up carbon dioxide this time. But then that blood is now deoxygenated, and I want you to show it coming back into the inferior and superior vena cava to start again. So I know this kind of looks crazy, but having your colors, if you had everything the same color, this would be a hot mess. So make sure you have your colors. All right, so when you turn in your notes, I am not just looking for the stuff that we did on the first video. I am looking for this also. So here is the deal for next week's test. It is only going to be on this right here, okay? Up through right here. Only heart structure. It's going to be a 50-point test, but it's only over this part right here. You will have a very large bonus question over this part right here. Can you draw that from scratch? Can you draw all of this from scratch? Will be a very large bonus question. Heavily, heavily weighted, okay? So the only thing you need to learn for next week's test on Tuesday and Wednesday is heart structure. We're going to play a Kahoot on Monday. We're going to talk about this heart structure. Again, this bottom part, circulation, both systemic and pulmonary, is just a bonus. If you can draw any of this from scratch, there will be partial credit. So if you just wanted to do the linear one, or if you just wanted to do the picture, you can also do both, okay? So I know this video is kind of long because when we do drawings, it does take a little while. But I wanted to let y'all have time in class to finish your test as long as you needed, because I know that endocrine test is no joke because that's a hard section, okay? And I was very thorough with my questioning for A&P. All right, guys, I'm going to stop talking now. Pike out.